Hi, guys. Merry Christmas. The Netflix Mary 2024. Yes, I'm Guy Gifford. This is my review. I'm a pastor and a theologian. So hang on. Here we're going to race through this. Boy, it's a large corruption from the biblical story. And here's how. Now, some believe that its story was taken from the biblical pseudepigrapha called the Gospel of James. Now, it's not. It's not at all. At least not that I could see. I'm not Catholic. I'm Christian or Messianic Jew, but Catholics are going to hate this version because it shows Mary twice to be a sinner in only 2 hours. Yep. Yep. And I'm going to reveal some of the serious problems with this movie for you. Here's another. It's a Hollywood Bible story, meaning that it's heavily distorted from the biblical historical account. Hollywood, it seems, can never abide filling in the story along with the grain of the wood. That is the original story. So Hollywood must constantly cut across the grain. That is, fill in the history with the overused, simplistic storylines and try to make an action thriller out of an otherwise beautiful, miraculous historical narrative. This movie routinely interrupts the historical account with the storyline, which is like cross traffic at a 90 degrees angle from the actual story. All the unique biblical narratives, according to Hollywood standard, must follow the commonplace gangster script rather than the subtleties and intricacies found deeply within the original story, with righteousness and people being portrayed in their actions, in their actual actions. We see Joseph's father going out into a deep sand dune desert for 3 days, akin to the Sahara Desert, which can't be found in Israel. In fact, the closest thing, I looked it up, was Wadi Rum Desert in Jordan. A 4-day one-way walk from Jerusalem, or 7 days from Nazareth. He's portrayed is a dark-eyed, fat-lipped angel Gabriel, looking more like the demons portrayed in other movies. In fact, I think he probably was portraying demons in other movies. And his ancestry of the actor portraying it was apparently black African descent, who looks more dark rather than glowing, pure, and sacred, glowing with angelic light. Portrayed is the temple, and everywhere in it using wax or tallow candles instead of the ubiquitous oil lamps of that location. Now, Mary is portrayed as being sent to the temple to live in a period of luxury, to serve God from age 10 to age 16, rather than in humble poverty. Mary is portrayed traveling alone to a historically non-existent running river the size of the Jordan River, only about a mile from the city and the temple, to wash clothes. Ridiculous. We're forced again to withhold logic from this movie account, as such place and action is not close to reality. In this version, rather than Mary's pregnancy being secret to only the most inner family, wrongly portrays that her pregnancy was very public and cause of many serious violent indices. What's that word I'm looking for? Not indices. Incidents. Thank you. All the subtleties of Joseph's intention to end the engagement privately, with no disgrace to Mary, according to the biblical story, is destroyed by the portrayal of Mary's pregnancy being widely publicized in disgrace to her and to her husband Joseph. They portray wrongly Mary, a pregnant, unwed virgin, roaming the streets at night, looking very pregnant, which would have never happened, and being chased by a mob of people who want to kill her for being the temple whore. This corrupted movie has Mary and her family living on the highest hill in Jerusalem, only minutes from the temple, rather than in Nazareth, the actual historical biblical location. The movie portrays Mary constantly wearing silk, rather than wearing the historical clothes of a girl from the poor town of Nazareth, wearing a typical family's clothes. It depicts that they're a poor family, but they're riding around rugged Judean hillsides in a European carriage being pulled by horses rather than walking. It depicts the Magi, who came from at least a distance of many weeks to the east, arriving to Jerusalem before baby Jesus is even born, and declaring their expectation of his birth rather than declaring that he had already been born weeks or many months in the past. All Bethlehem's walls are painted the royal color blue, a color that in those days only the wealthiest persons of the time could afford. And a commoner's door is displayed to have many iron bolts, all displays far outside of time or reality. Then it portrays that everyone knows that the child Messiah is immediately to be born in Bethlehem, before Mary and Joseph have even arrived in Bethlehem, and before the angels at night have announced that he is born, which was the first historical public announcement given in the Bible. And throughout the movie, it constantly adds an evil demonic character who appears from nowhere and transforms from people in the same old and overused theatrics of the common day. Of course, we're accustomed to nearly all movie portrayals, as it has also failed having the Messiah born in an uncharacteristic, high-walled shell of a building, with no roof, rather than in a low-walled sheepfold or a sheep cave. The movie also foolishly has a Judean shepherd voluntarily come to the very known and very jealous mass killer King Herod to tell him of the Messiah baby's birth. Absolutely unthinkable that any shepherd who didn't have a death wish would do this. Wow. Then it portrays Mary calling over Joseph and saying, "Come meet your son." Yet, Mary would have been keenly focused on the knowledge that the Spirit of God was Jesus' father, and that this was not Joseph's son. She couldn't have forgotten or acted so, as Joseph had also told Mary that he'd been told that she was pregnant by the Holy Spirit. There are a lot of other historical things wrong with this portrayal, but the action wasn't one of them. The acting was fine, and I think all the actors can be applauded for their acting, and likewise the directing of this horrible script. Camera shots and editing was generally good, with few exceptions. But in summary, this movie storyline has no redeeming value as any type of historical account of the life of Mary, such that any watching it is not neutral, but is rather a harmful use of time. That's my opinion. I hope you appreciate it. Have a great day.